Hey guys, we are back updating the power rankings for the Amazing Race 35 following episode 9, and I was actually once again surprised that this was not a non-elimination leg, as we are now down to the final 5 despite there being several weeks left in the race, which makes me a bit worried that this back end is going to be filled with non-elimination legs or non-elimination episodes per se, but obviously that's just the hand that we're dealt here. And there was actually a bit of intrigue here with these rankings, but we'll get into that more in a moment. But there are 16 to talk about, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the video. So starting off at number 6, we have the boots from this week, and here we have Robin and Chelsea. And this wasn't too surprising here. They were pretty much in the back of the pack for most of the leg here, where they did start off in 5th place, but they quickly fell behind at the end of the roadblock. And obviously, a lot of that was due to them getting lost on the way to the cave afterwards, but really from that point on, they really had no shot. Even though the show made it seem like Todd and Ashley were relatively close ahead of them, realistically, it didn't really seem like there was much of a shot. They even finished hours after Todd and Ashley checked into the pit stop, which was kind of funny there, but on the whole, I mean, they weren't really that big of a standouts at the end of the day, and plus they were pretty mediocre racers, which is why they're here at number 6. And with that, there are 5 teams left in the race to talk about, and as usual, I'll be ranking them based on how likely I think they are to win the race. But number 5, and I actually did change this list quite a bit from the last time, partly because of my own reassessment of things, but also based off what actually happened in this episode. But number 5, I actually decided to go with Steve and Anna Lee here. Now, on the surface, their leg here was actually pretty solid, where they did start off in last place, but then they were able to climb their way back up, getting as far as to 2nd place by the end of the detour, but only to fall behind to 3rd place on their way to the pit stop. So it's not a bad leg here. They go from 6th place to 3rd place here. But I feel like at this point, edit is starting to play more of a factor in these rankings here, as well as overall consistency. And while they did have a good rebound here, I feel like at this point, they're probably one of the least likely teams to win based off the edit, which I think is a big factor for me. And for that reason, I had them here at number 5. Now moving on to number 4, and this is a team that I have largely defended over the course of the race here. And while this wasn't a terrible episode for them edit-wise, I feel like the pure race aspect of it was pretty bad. But here we have Todd and Ashley. Again, I've had them at number 1 for quite a bit now on the race here, to the point where I've been said to be like a stan channel for them. But at this point, I feel like I can't really ignore how bad their leg here was, where they did start off in 2nd place here, only to fall way behind due to the dragon task, where they really struggled on that, falling all the way to 2nd to last. And really they get benefited by the fact that Robin and Chelsea were just so far behind to where they had plenty of time to work with here. And again, they just kind of remained there for the rest of the leg here. Again, none of that is particularly great. Now again, from an edit standpoint, I still kind of stand by them, where they had some funny confessionals here. They even get this moment during the detour where we see Todd really celebrating after figuring out that he's got the hooks, which made them think that he had just won the race, which could be funny foreshadowing, but again, they still end up finishing 2nd last year, which again, not a great leg on the whole, and that is largely factoring into their power ranking for this week, but also my assessment of one team going up in particular. So it's not as if I don't think Todd and Ashley can win at this point. It's just that I feel like I had to account for the fact that they just did so poorly on this leg this week that I had them here at number 4. Now moving on to number 3, and this team has actually jumped up quite a bit from the last time that I talked about them, and here we have Joel and Garrett here. And for a while, I kind of knocked them for not being the most consistent team in the world, and I think looking back, I kind of underestimated them to a degree, where I feel like they definitely demonstrated that they have at least some capability as racers here, as we saw from this leg, where they did start in 4th place, and they did remain there for most of the leg, but they're able to leapfrog Rob and Corey here, mainly due to the mistake that they made during the detour, and they're even able to pass Steve and Anna Lee on the way to the pit stop to secure a 2nd place finish here. So again, on the surface, that's pretty impressive. But I also think from an edit standpoint, I think they've kind of gone up in my estimation as well, to where we're getting more content from them and we're starting to see them more as characters. We're starting to see more of their perspective. And I think that's at least a positive I had to attribute to them, and a big reason why they've gone up this far on the list. So again, they're an interesting team at this point, and obviously with the end game approaching, they could be a team worth watching. But for now, I figure number 3 is a good spot to put them. Now moving on to number 2, and we probably have the most dominant team on the race right now, and here we have Greg and John, who have just won their 4th leg in a row, and they were pretty much in the front of the pack the entire time. Started off in first place, obviously, never really get challenged much over the course of the leg, where really it's just Rob and Corey directly behind them for a lot of it, though obviously they're not quite able to pass them along the way. So obviously that's a big factor. They're the most consistent team up to this point. They're the most dominant team up to this point. Now, admittedly, from an edit standpoint, I still have a lot of the worries that I've had with them before, where I could see them coming up short by the end of it, sort of like a Ryan and Dusty, for instance, where I could see their mistakes just piling up over time. So obviously that's a big reason why I don't have them higher in the list. And really the main reason they go up here is due to Todd and Ashley going down this week. So that's a big factor in why they are where they are, which is why they're here at number 2. And now at number 1, the team that I believe is the most likely to win the Amazing Race 35 right now is Rob and Corey. And Rob and Corey have consistently been frontrunners for me. I feel like they've had a pretty strong mix of race performance and edit, to where they're pretty clearly meant to be sympathetic figures across the season here. And we got plenty of their perspective in this episode as well, where obviously we see them talking early on about not wanting to use the Express Pass and wanting to save it for later. And while they do get tested here due to their mistake during the detour where they end up switching along the way, they still walk out of that not using their Express Pass, something that they get to prop themselves up for. And obviously, leading into their race performance here, it's obviously not the most consistent performance in the world. They do start off in 3rd place. They're able to get up to 2nd place by the time of the Dragon task, and they're able to hold on to that for a bit. Though obviously we get to their mistake where they obviously screw up the swap task, and through that they had to end up switching to the scrape task, which obviously caused them to fall to 4th place, which is where they end up finishing here. So again, not the greatest leg in the world, but I still feel like they're a team that's set up pretty well edit-wise, sort of similar to Todd and Ashley, but with them being more consistent racers, I feel like that gives me a bit more confidence in them right now, which is why they're here at number 1. And there we go, that will do it for this week's video. If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe, really helps out with the channel. And I'll be back again next week to update the power rankings again, so you can stay tuned for that. I am still covering Survivor 45 and Survivor UK, so you can expect weekly power rankings of those shows. I am on Patreon, so if you want to consider supporting the channel, you can do so by clicking the link in the description. And you can also join the Discord server by also clicking the link in the description. There's a lot of stuff coming your way, but for now, that's the video. See ya.